A warm welcome to tonight's webinar, Beyond Campaigns, the AI Revolution in Political Tech, ? The webinar is brought to you by Partisan. My name is Josef Lentsch. I'm the founder and CEO. At Partisan, we're on a mission to help political professionals succeed. We empower them across Europe by providing them a unique platform for connection, collaboration, and learning. Tonight, we have three entrepreneurs who some of you may know from the Political Tech Summit in Berlin in January. We just talked about briefly that it's just 3 months ago and so many things have happened since then. It's pretty amazing or crazy, however you want it. All of them work at the intersection of politics, civil society, the public sector, and business. Now, the title Beyond Campaigns, of course, implies that we will talk about more than just campaigns. We talk about the broader implications of AI on the body politic. But of course, with the discussants that we have in and their expertise, we will also talk a little bit and spend some time talking about campaigns and what AI means for political communication, political campaigning. Of course, there are much more aspects, so we want to dive into them too. Let me now introduce today's experts in alphabetical order. I will start with Mathias Lipp. He's the founder and chairman of AI Empowered Politics, a nonprofit that's based in Vienna, Austria, and it's dedicated to promoting social understanding of artificial intelligence in politics. A warm welcome to you, Mathias.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you. Maya Hutchinson is also with us. A warm welcome to you too. Maya is the founder of BattlegroundAI. She's building AI-powered advertising infrastructure for political candidates, campaigns, and causes based out of the US. Maya, a warm welcome to you.
Thanks so much for having me. Thanks for joining.
And last but not least is Tomáš Halász. He's the co-founder and CEO of Trollwall AI. Trollwall is working to harness cutting-edge AI technologies for a purpose, to revolutionize content moderation and empower brands in the digital sphere, and it's based in Slovakia. Good evening or good day to you, Tomáš.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So to kick things off, I would like to ask you a question, and I would like to ask you to answer with your hand or two hands on a scale from 0 to 10. How large would you rate the impact of AI on the body politic today? So if you think about what the overall impact of AI is on the body politic today, and I already see some thinking going on, but if you would kind of spontaneously, from 0 to 10 fingers, can you show us your two hands? So it's 3 and 3 and 5. So if I may summarize, it's like in the lower to medium level. Now, if I would say not today, but if I would ask the same question and ask you on a scale from 0 to 10, how large would you rate the impact in 2 to 3 years from now? What would your number be then? So we have something between 6 and, I think if I see correctly, 9, right? And 7 in the middle. So I think if we would, build the average, then I think instead of probably like 3.5 or 4, we would have something like a 7 or so, right? So I think the expectation, just to kick things off, would be that AI actually becomes pretty important, perhaps not, the all-encompassing and all-disrupting technology that some want to make us believe, or some are saying, but pretty important. And I think this is why we're discussing today and tonight how, the impact actually, what the impact actually means in concrete terms. So what I want to do is to structure the discussion for tonight. I want to start with the discussants with some opening statements from their particular perspectives on the impact and what the impact is, very specifically, very practically, and then, of course, start a discussion among the three of them. Just to let you know, there's a Q&A option on the footer. So you should be able to access the question and answer at any point. So if there's any input, any question you want to ask or any comment you want to make, that should be possible at any time, but certainly at probably halftime. So after about 45 minutes at latest, I would like to involve you as the audience. If there are any questions beforehand that seem to fit, I would try to bring them in at an earlier point, but I'm sure want to keep things very interactive tonight and involve you as much as that is possible. So, Mathias, if I may start with you, as the founder and chairman of AI Empowered Politics. Perhaps do you want to tell us a little bit about your organization, AI Empowered Politics, but as the name fits tonight's topic so nicely, when you think about AI Empowered Politics, what do you think will AI do, not just for, but also in a way to political organizations? And how do they need to prepare? If you want to kick things off with 5 to 6 minutes of opening statement, and then I will hand over to the other two. Mathias, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Josef, and thanks for having me. Yes, like Josef already mentioned, I'm the founder of AI Empowered Politics. We are a platform which showcases the potential of artificial intelligence in political organization and government organization. And we do that through research, consulting, education, and we also now starting with software development. And that I tell you later on why I think also why software development is going to increase in political organization. And we try to help political organizations and NGOs to use artificial intelligence. And I was one of the most skeptical person here in the speaker audience, and we see that artificial intelligence is getting more and more used in political organization. It's mostly last year we had the huge election year, and it was used in content creation and in citizen discussion and communication. We saw Ashley, a bot used by Democrats in the US election last year. We had Konrad in Germany, used by the CDU, who was used for creating press releases, social media posts. And we have a little bit more advanced technological in the UK, for example, in the UK Parliament, Parallax. They're analyzing the parliamentary debates and forecast the outcomes of the votes. And then in Germany, I think because we already have the name beyond election, we have Cosmonaut and Kings who were starting to build artificial focus groups. And I was skeptical because of one of the main reasons. If we look on the whole economy, we see that only 23% of the organization in total are using generative AI, and mostly ChatGPT. So really easy and not really complicated tools. And that has one specific reason in my case. Artificial intelligence is not a tool, a new software tool, like a mail software tool or an office tool. It could be seen as one new employee. And in order to effectively integrate a new employee in organization, also the organization has to adapt. And then to bring artificial intelligence in organization, it's also an organizational transformation. And we see a huge possibility what's possible with artificial intelligence. We see Gemini and OpenAI are releasing models and application every 1 or 2 weeks. But the implementation gap in political organization is quite low. And then it's a reason because the organization may not ready. And one most important thing is also AI integration is a strategic question. So what do I want to solve with artificial intelligence? What's the use case? What's the potential data and technological infrastructure? And that's a strategic question. And that takes time and resources and also literacy and education to integrate it effectively. And that's what we also help at Empowered Politics to help political organization to overcome these barriers. And you ask me what will happen in 5 to 6 years. It depends. I think it also depends if the organization, if political leaders want to step on the train and work with technological more effectively. And then, of course, that's always artificial intelligence is how to use it for repetitive tasks. So for content production, for briefing creation, social media creation. And these repetitive tasks can be really easily handled by artificial intelligence. But like I mentioned at the beginning, it highly depends on the willingness to change and to adapt to this technology by a political organization.
Thank you, Mathias. You yourself have worked in a political organization, in a political party before. You became an entrepreneur. You talked about that over the coming years, you expect political organizations to get more involved in software development. Now we know that there, of course, are some challenges with in-house development. So how do you see that going? Where do you see the main challenges? You talked about the kind of the embedding, the organizational change. Where do you see, not just in parties, also perhaps in unions, associations, also NGOs, where do you see the resistance coming from? And how do you think this can be overcome to become more efficient, to become a more effective organization with AI?
I think there are two main points. It's the cultural mindset of the political organization. So how do they want to adapt to this? Then also it's how to implement it effectively. And the most important thing, what I see why political parties a little bit shy away from it, because people also are afraid of they're maybe losing the job, maybe AI is better than me, or maybe the promised outcome is not that good from the beginning on than expected. And I think the most important point is with literacy to work with the teams and organizations together and implement it. And I was talking before about software development. The cost of software development decreased in the recent years tremendously. So it's getting cheaper to build in-house software, but of course you need the technical infrastructure. You need the people who are willing to maintain and to also to secure the data protection. And I think that's also costly for political organizations. So it's one to the literacy and cultural readiness, and also the costs what political organizations face.
Thank you very much. We'll get into the details of some of the topics you mentioned later on, but now I want to move on to Maya. Maya, so you are involved in building AI-powered advertising infrastructure with BattlegroundAI and some other things. Can you first of all give us an idea what that means in practice? How you are already perceiving the political landscape changing right now, and perhaps also with a view to the future. Some people talk about the campaign of one. That AI will enable in the end to for one person, one campaign manager to run the whole campaign by themselves. Do you see that happening? Is that something that you also are working towards? Or will there still be party HQs with humans in the loop that will drive the strategy? And over to you, Maya.
Yeah, thanks so much. And Mathias, I couldn't agree more with everything you said. So I'm Maya Hutchinson. I founded BattlegroundAI. We're a smart end-to-end advertising platform. And to Joseph's point, what that means is now, because of the advancements in AI technology, we can much better create content and messaging that's deeply informed by data, and really understand what people want to hear, what we need to talk to them about in a way that was not possible before. We saw that, especially in the last election cycle, there was this growing disconnect with what voters were saying and what we were talking about. And we need to do a better job of really more deeply integrating that. And that's what our mission is at BattlegroundAI. And of course, you know, while we have a luxury of voter data, that doesn't mean that you can't do a lot with your own first-party data and information about what people want to hear. And so this really applies to many instances and countries and applications beyond even just political. And so that's what we're really working towards. I think there is an education and an importance of understanding where AI is applicable, and what are those use cases, and where you see, as Mathias said, redundancies, where you see like opportunities for efficiency, and also where you see opportunities for things to get better. We have, you know, limited capacity as humans, and this is a new tool that allows us to do things beyond what we could just with our own hands and our own brains. But it's very critical to the outputs, right? In a big case study we did in the last election cycle, we looked at about 400 different pieces of content across 3 different states here in the US. Some were AI generated, some were human generated, and some were a combination of both. And we saw across audiences, across states, that combination is really where you know, we can improve performance, and that's really the sweet spot. And I think that goes across all elements of the use of AI, which is like humans are the ones controlling this. It's a technology that we built. We have the power to make it do what we need in an effective way, in a safe way, in a thoughtful way. That's really what we think about constantly on our team, is doing this in a really thoughtful, strategic way. And so there's one-off use cases. And I think, you know, starting with ChatGPT and being able to play around and ask questions and make funny images, like that's great. And that can introduce you to the idea. But then really thinking through and it's clear Mathias has lots of resources on that too, like thinking through how this applies into your organization. So do I think and I just talked to a campaign manager, a fundraiser managing a critical race this morning here in the States, and he is he's currently a one-man shop managing this race. Soon to have more folks, but AI plays a really important role for him. It's basically like his assistant. He's been using it for a while, and it helps him, you know, respond to folks. It helps him find donors faster. It helps him do a lot more with less. Do I think that that there will be organizations of one in the future? Certainly, I think that gives more opportunities for people, especially, you know, small local races with limited budgets, to actually run for office, like when that might not have been possible before. Because I think what the most important thing, obviously, in politics is human interaction, talking to people, meeting them face to face, engaging with them, and that's something AI is not doing. It is doing all of that back office stuff, so that you know who to talk to, where to go for those events, making sure those people get RSVPs, like all of that critical stuff that helps you run for office. So I hope I addressed some of those. I don't know if I missed one element of your questions, but happy to keep always talking about it.
Thank you, Maya. As a follow-up question, you mentioned the budgets, right? I mean, there's an aspect of AI that you know, I think we can safely say can make you more efficient, that can save money if you don't need a junior researcher for a particular task, or you know, some kind of automation that can save you money. That's one thing. But of course, there's another aspect of AI that costs really a lot of money, right? That is training models and all those kinds of things. So how do you see those two things in relation to each other? Because of course, you know, the one aspect which costs a lot of money, only some political players will be able to afford. So how does this change the game? Do you think it's more money saving, or will the ones with the big budgets actually ultimately be the beneficiaries of that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's both. I think we need to invest in organizations, companies, nonprofits that are thinking through those big picture training models, having lots of potential budget, and that also is like, you know, or generating revenue in that capacity. And we also obviously need to make sure that those big organizations are, you know, developing those models in a thoughtful way, and have resources. And I think if we can really fund those and strategically build those, and whether that's, you know, I think that's even far beyond just, you know, an individual party. That's what's like giving downstream organizations opportunities. You know, we're a platform that's, you know, that takes money and development to build, but we leverage existing, you know, large language models to help power that. And then, you know, the candidates and the organizations that we work with then have even more opportunity downstream to leverage a tool that we're building. I think the majority of people do not have the resources to train big models or build expensive infrastructure. And as Mathias said too, like building your own personal technology in an organization is really hard. There's a lot of upkeep, engineering capacity, and yes, that's getting better with AI too, but you know, that's a lot, and that really takes away from a lot of the work you're doing, your mission critical work, the like money that folks are giving you to talk to voters and win elections, or, you know, do advocacy. And so better to push tools and push us as founders and as innovators to meet your needs. I challenge people to ask me questions about like what they need, like what are they seeing as an improvement to their work, because that's the only way we can get better at servicing them.
Thanks very much, Maya. Before I get to Tomáš, I just wanted to once again let you know that there's a Q&A button that you can hit in the footer. So if there's any comment or question that you have, please do post it there. I'll try to insert it into the discussion at latest at halftime. First of all, Tomáš, can I get to you? The content moderation, community management, those are all fields of activities for Trollwall AI. You're also an entrepreneur. You're also founder. Mathias and also Maya referred to it, said that, you know, political organizations will do more in-house development in the future. Now, of course, you are a provider of a product, of a service. How do you see AI changing the game, and also your relation when it comes to clients potentially? Yeah, let us know what Trollwall is doing, and then perhaps give us your perspective on how AI is changing the game.
Great question, and Maya and Mathias said many things which I agree with. So just let me follow up. For the start, what Trollwall does is help political parties, candidates to better engage on social media with their followers. We are not in the content moderation or content creation part. We are dealing with the comments and with the engagement, with the messages after the content was created and there are followers engaging. Firstly, we moderate those haters, either artificial or real, who are just spreading hate just to distract from the campaigns and also to polarize the public opinions. That's the first part, and that's our clients are very happy that they don't need to read any more of these, and these kind of comments are removed on the large scale. But secondly, we also generate the sentiment. We analyze each follower for the kind of interaction he has with the party's social media, and based on that, we help to tailor messages and reactions, replies based on each political party or candidate we work with. We are already 3 years, so it's slowly becoming not a startup, but we worked with the political parties across 8 countries, West, East Europe, even in Latin America, on multiple campaigns. And where I see the difference, when we started, there was no GPT. We had our own NLP model, and AI was not a really like word. And then while we launched, the GPT came out, and everybody was on the AI hype. And we got a lot of this question like ChatGPT will take our job, it will take our startup, and everything will be solved with only AI. And we see this also regarding the software development. AI is not enough. To use some kind of AI or to connect to OpenAI is not enough. You need to have a domain expertise, like Maya has in the advertisement space. You need to have your own data. You need to have a product manager. You need to have like proper CTO at least, which is not so common still in the political parties, to make the product very usable. And we have cases where the political parties made their own small software with help of AI, which was very useful, like small automation, which wouldn't make sense to pay for just even a couple of years ago. And they helped them. But also there are cases when they were on the hype to make some own big product to help only them, spend tens, if not hundreds of thousands of euros. And after a while, they find out that, okay, but they are not software companies. Because at the end, it's about the knowledge. It's about the proper developers who know how to use AI, because AI is not a solution to everything. And where I see the difference, where I see where it's heading, why I put the 5, like where I'm in the situation now, I think it's this technological change is first time also becoming part of the policies of the political parties during the campaigns. We didn't have this when the rise of television. We didn't have this when the rise of social media. But now we have really political parties as a part of their policy of how they are on what they are campaigning. Part of their platform is how to deal with AI. AI is part of geopolitics now. And this is the difference between technologies before and now. And that's why I think that it's a bit different game. And we will see how it reacts, because social media didn't took out the jobs on such a scale as AI might. And once AI take a lot of jobs for our voters as a political campaigners, and they will not get the better jobs, then the sentiment against AI can much more change in the broad spectrum, but also during the campaigns. And we might see some campaigners even starting in a couple of years saying like, we do organic campaign, we don't use AI. This might happen, like it's a Black Mirror scenario, but I read also science fiction, so we will see.
Many thanks. So what I heard from you, Tomáš, and a little bit also from the other two discussants is that this idea that you just send an agent or some kind of AI into the field, and we also have a question from the audience I want to get to in a second. But basically, either you save a seat, so to say, because you don't have to pay for a junior researcher or whatever that might be that you're saving, or you get additional horsepower just by turning on ChatGPT or whatever model it might be, whatever service, is probably a bit mistaken. No, that there is some kind of need of investment that you need to do, at least in embedding, and as Mathias also said, in terms of organizational adaptation, somebody needs to manage this kind of artificial staff member in the future to make him or her to make it productive. How do you see this? What's the kind of invest on behalf of organization that you need to factor in before AI gets really fully productive?
I was surprised how many political parties even recently use like pen and paper and make a paper notes from everything, or use fax in some countries. So
Germany
this is like
being probably one of them.
Yes, I heard also about Australia, and this is about the change in the culture and change in the organization. What I see is like small campaigns, like first-time candidates, AI first. They even can use AI agents or AI in a broader sense much more effectively sometimes than the bigger campaigns. Yeah, and because of the cultural change, and also because I think this is more European narrative, maybe US as well, that AI, many people are afraid that AI will take their job in the political campaign. But I work on a couple of political campaigns. I think there's never not any more work to do. There's always something to do. So to have a more AI helping to gain productivity is just plus. But I think AI will help the capable people, the experts. But if you don't know how to use it, if you don't know what you need to have a result, you will make a mediocre, generic outreach, generic messages, and everybody will be flooded with that. We already see that on social media is flooded by AI slam, and people are getting like, just doesn't resonate. And you need to have a proper expert to use AI. So again, it's the same with the fake news and hoaxes. Like 2 years ago, we discussed in Brussels, you and me, Joseph, that how generic AI can make a catastrophic scenarios of because of the European election and use of AI for spreading the disinformation. The disinformation are still spreaded, and it's much cheaper and easier and more personalized than it was, but it wasn't like so catastrophic because there are some limitation of like capability of the distribution and capability of understanding of people. So I think it's not black and white. I think it will be something like a bit like social media, that they change a lot, but at the end, it's also still the same. At the end, I need to get my followers to get in the morning, get to the voting booth and vote for my candidate I get the power. At the end, it's the same. And to get them emotion that I, as a candidate, if I will be a candidate, will change their life to do better and much better than another candidate.
Thank you. So you need expertise, and if you don't have it in-house, you need someone to guide you, to advise you, to make the most and to make it productive. A question to the other two speakers. Tomáš mentioned the flood of AI content. I mean, we can already see that very much on LinkedIn, for example, but also on other channels, that also, people in politics now have started to automate, to create a lot of content. Now there is a scenario, where so much of that content is created that basically, people turn more and more out. So you read, even though you create more content, people, are so overwhelmed that you don't get through. So how do you see this play out? I mean, Mathias, you mentioned synthetic focus groups, real life testing, targeting, microservice, all those kinds of things. So what are we heading here when it comes to politics? Maya, Mathias, I open it to the both of you.
Should I start, Maya, or yeah? Yes, it's a quite good question. I think everybody of us, or also in this audience, is using ChatGPT in order to create social media content. But at the moment, you kind of see the quality between an engaging, good thought content than a generative AI created. And of course, I think the amount of content is decreasing on all platforms. It's also that the political landscape is quite diverse. You don't have this big party landscape anymore. The big parties are decreasing. You have more parties and therefore more competition for voters. And that's especially hard when you have with limited resources, you want to reach a huge amount of people who should elect you. And I think it's a mix of using technology in order to make repetitive tasks in less time. But I think also that we see also on social media that the content has to be interactive, engaging, and personal. And this, you cannot do that with AI. You cannot create personal, engaging content. It can help you structure scripts and specific formats, but you still need to have a lot of thought on your content in order to make it qualitative. And I think that's the crucial thing to run effectively on social media as a political organization. Don't float the zone with a lot of content, and more creating qualitative content with the help of artificial intelligence to do that in less time. I think that the mix is quite crucial.
Thank you. Now, as Mathias said, Maya, the content at this point is still, often a bit generic, or you can see or feel that there's something a bit off. But of course, I mean, the nature of the beast is that it's learning, right? So it almost feels like the next frontier that, again, you can basically in real life, I don't know, scrape profiles and target really based on keywords, on sentiments, on emotions, and so on. So where are we heading here, and what does this mean for politics? Will there be an even higher premium on authenticity then, or will nothing be authentic anymore? So how do you see this unroll?
Yeah, it's well, these are really good questions. So I think just like you know, we mentioned a few times, like having an intern or having an extra staffer is like having AI. But when you first get when you first have a new hire, most of the time that person needs to learn a lot of stuff. They need to learn how your organization works or how the candidate operates and a lot of the intricacies of the location of where you're campaigning or what you're working on. The same thing with AI. It needs to learn, regardless of whether you start with a fully trained model or you're building something in-house. It needs to learn from information. And that's really where I think you can unlock this big opportunity. That's not just, and I think all of us do that. You write something and you put it into ChatGPT, like proofread it, make it a little bit better, maybe for this voice. Like that's great. And that's, an initial start. And I think we do need to be better about just like posting things right out of ChatGPT. But, I think where you start, and Mathias was talking about this too, and we can really inform the AI with not only, information about our audience, what they like to read, what are the issues that are important to them, and less about what matters to me. This is about who we're talking to and how we can educate our AI, our language models about who we need to talk to. As a marketer, I'm constantly thinking about how somebody else will interpret my message. How do I talk to a voter in a rural part of the state, in an urban part of the state, someone with a totally different background than myself? But I'm managing the campaign or the content development. How can I do this in a much more thoughtful way of being able to talk to people and meet them where they are on the platform, in the type of message that they understand or they resonate? I know, we have multiple languages, obviously, in States, but I know you all are dealing with lots of dialects and lots of different nuances of different locations and many more parties than we have. And so that's where you can really start to just better understand people and better talk to them. And I think that's more of a personalization element that we're really trying to look for, not the mass volume. And so when I said, like, yeah, we built a lot more content in that use case I mentioned, it also was a lot more personalized to the candidate, to the issues that matter. And that's where I think that's only the tip of the iceberg. I think we can get a lot smarter with data, with messaging and polling and testing that we couldn't do before.
Thank you. I see two hands raised, so I will give the floor to Tomáš and then Mathias, and then I will get to the audience questions because there are some really great ones. Thanks for already posting. Tomáš, your thought on this?
I think it's a great topic, and I second what Maya said. It's there's not a problem that use AI like for content creation or content checking, mostly like for us who are like maybe not native English speakers and then need to write on LinkedIn in English. But it's like it will enable and us to speak on a larger scale, but not flooding the message. But then and that's why also the domain expertise will be important. Like I couldn't make the same great ads with our AI if you use other AI than Maya can do with BattlegroundAI because she has the domain knowledge, and that's the plus. But getting back to the flooding of the message, then we have dark campaigns. Then we have official dark campaigns and Russian, Chinese, whoever dark campaigns. And they are generally flooding the information space just to distract, just to see what sticks. And they don't have a brand reputation in stake. Like in Europe, our political parties are very afraid because there's some reputation damage can be done. But if you are fake page of Russian information on hybrid warfare, you don't have any brand reputation in stake, you can flood the information space. And this is happening. It was happening before generative AI. It's happening even more now with the AI. And now we need to fight with it. We as political campaigners, we use, like, for example, using Trollwall to moderate this kind of content, but also social platforms. Because at the end, all again regarding content creation. At the end, it's about distribution, and there are a couple of big US companies who have the keys from the gates. And if they change the algorithm, like we saw in January, not just from us, but also from our clients and also from other political campaigners, they see there was a huge change in the algorithm on Facebook, and the political content started to be more shown to the followers and more engaged, and we had spike. So I think that again, it will be a mix. It will be not in black and white. I think we need to use AI to fight also bad AI and like AI for dark campaigns. And also what will be the topic regarding generally around use of AI with current geopolitics is decoupling from US companies. I recently was in India, and there were people from like 90 countries, and this was one of the main topics, like how we can build our own tech stack. There's a discussion about European tech stack, how we can decouple, how other countries can decouple from US tech companies, which is unfortunate, but it's unfortunate the reality of current geopolitics, while also dividing from the big tech to like Maya. I wouldn't mind using Maya's tool in Europe, for example.
Thank you. I think the decoupling question is also, of course, a very interesting one, which we can delve into after the audience questions. First of all, over to Mathias.
Yes, thanks. You were talking with Tomáš before how will it replace people, and I don't think that it replace any people. It will also, from a labor point of view, staff in political organization don't need to have the domain knowledge in their field, political analysis. They also need to have the knowledge about technology, how to use it effectively, in order to have a competitive advantage. And I think it's also, Maya was telling that it's also a chance to enable political organization to be more inclusive, to be more diverse, because now you have the chance to translate complicated topic in easy language, in different languages, and in easy to read, and that was not before possible. So you have the possibility to make politics more inclusive and therefore reach more people. And that's a big chance also for volunteers. The political world got more complicated and more complicated. I think try to explain the EU Act in 3 sentences. It's not possible for a volunteer on the street, but with knowledgement systems, what parties provide to their volunteers on the street, it's therefore possible to give them a tool to explain their policy, their points of view, and also to spread the word for political parties more effectively. So I think that's big chances what parties should use.
Thank you very much. And with that, as promised, almost to the minute, we get to the audience questions. Thank you very much for posting them. I'll start with the first one from Saga Vishnoy, also a friend and partner from the Political Tech Summit. And his question is, what future agentic AI holds in political communication? As we can see lots of agent companies coming out, but we haven't seen any case studies in politics yet around the globe. So first of all, just to pose the question at the 3 of you, have you seen any case studies of agentic AI being used in political communications by any chance? Yeah, what future do you see for it? Mathias, you raised your hand.
Yes, thank you. Really interesting question, Saga. I think it always depends how you define agent. If you say that's a tool that makes autonomously decisions and delegates tasks to different chatbots and so on, no, I haven't seen it. I think also the term AI agent is used quite. Yes, I think it's. I did use it a lot at the moment. Different risk comes up, but I think especially use cases in political campaigns, unfortunately, I haven't seen it, and I think it will take still a couple of years in order to really implement AI agents in communication. 2000 last year they were telling 25 will be the year of AI agent. It's now almost half of it. I haven't seen this shift, so I think that will take a couple of more years.
Tomáš, Maya.
Oh, Tomáš, you can go.
Go first, sure.
I like that. I don't think there's a hard case study on agents. It's something that's definitely on our roadmap. When there's a a very structured system in place is where agents are most helpful. And so oftentimes, like, we're first solving a problem that, you know, a process that lives in a million different places and data that lives everywhere and is in lots of different spreadsheets, which is advertising, basically, which is very, you know, traditionally in lots of different places all over, across teams, and that's very hard to automate out of the box. You need to really have a structured process and format, and I think we're getting there now, and that's really our effort, is just put a structure around that, systematize it with AI first, and then I think there's definitely big opportunities in use cases to implement agents. Certainly on the corporate side, they're moving quite fast and you know, charging ahead with a lot of, you know, test cases there. And I think certainly from our perspective, we have one that, you know, will in the future on our roadmap be feasible too.
Yes, if I remember, I think it was more than 1 year ago, I saw this demo from Google or some big tech, how AI will book my holiday from everything from travels to hotel. I'm in Italy. I tried to use ChatGPT to find me at least like tour guide, and half of it was not working. So this is, I think, the current status. We have some agentic parts in our tool already. We are developing, but in close environment. I think we are still far off from that to have a like agentic like agents, which I will say like, oh, go find me a voter in this area who cares about this, find me on whatever internet where he writes something, and then send him a message, personalize this. I think we are still too far from that because it's more complicated, and also we're finding out. But I think we are going to there. But again, I think it will be like having 1,000 trainees or 20,000 trainees. You still need to train it very well. Otherwise, you get these spam messages like I think all of us get on LinkedIn. So it will be about execution, and I still haven't seen any good execution really properly.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Saga, for the question once again. I think that's potentially something to look at the next political tech summit in January 2026 in Berlin, whether there's a case study by then that we can actually look at and discuss and dissect. So looking forward to that. Now, of course, there's not only the impact of AI on politics, but there's also the impact of politics on AI. We have two questions from the audience. One is related to the sustainability and the environmental question of AI. How do you see that playing out? First of all, Maya, Tomáš, your companies, as of course AI, as we all know, takes a lot of energy when it comes to processing power, and of course that has environmental effects. Is that something that you and your companies, your startups worry about? Is that something that you try to address? And also, of course, in the larger picture, if you think about political parties, particularly perhaps what comes to mind are, you know, green parties or others who are more environmentally minded than perhaps others. Do you see that having some kind of impact on their use of AI, or, you know, potential mitigation of the negative effects? Thank you, Amali, for this question. Who wants to take it?
If I may, I think also DeepSeek show that the AI can be less demanding, and I think the agentic actually will help to decide which model will be used for what. Because now we use generally what now is used big, large LLM models as a hammer, and then you're looking for a nail. We had really use cases where clients use it for something which could take like a couple of lines in the code. So that's why we try to be very efficient, because we were bootstrapping and we are very minding about our expenses on infrastructure. So for many tasks, we don't use some large models or even our small models. We use just basic coding and basic scripts. So we do mind. I think over time, it at some point will get overused, agentic, and then we'll have generated a discussion like, okay, where is the fair usage for that? And I really love this question, because this is something which should be discussed. Also considering the decoupling, which we mentioned.
Do you think it's going to go towards some kind of fair use policy with a view also to environmental impacts?
I more think it will be something like recycling. Like it started, like it's a shame now to not recycle, at least in Europe. I've been to the US, it wasn't so much, to be honest. So I think it will be something like that, like, okay, use AI, but don't use it for everything. Don't use it for really basic stuff because there is some environmental cost.
Maya, what do you think? How will the environmental question impact the AI and politics application?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, and one that, with any advancement in technology, I mean, we also saw this with Bitcoin, right, and all the environmental impacts that was having as well. I think there's always should be that question of, and I think in the States, obviously it's challenging because we need to be electing leaders who really believe in climate change and are believing in a future where we're, moving away from oil and gas and looking towards alternative energy sources and including AI energy use in that. I live in a state that is very forward thinking on that, and making a big effort to incorporate multiple stakeholders from energy departments, investing in more sustainable, infrastructure for AI. That's coming to different locations. It's a huge topic, but we really need to elect leaders that actually take that seriously. It isn't just, of course, it comes from the company's perspective, but we need to be advocating and talking to our leaders about prioritizing a world where we're focused on climate change across the board. But to Tomáš's point, like, it's really important to understand that you don't need massive compute power to do, to make a social media post or to automate data analysis, small spreadsheets or reporting, or especially from like individual political campaigns. Like, we can do that in a much more sustainable fashion. So it's really important that globally folks working in this space are advocating and communicating about this. So I appreciate the question for sure.
Thank you very much. And there's a question from Nima around the usage of LLMs in contexts where there's the language, and he comes from Nepal, where there might not be that much of training data compared perhaps to, of course, English or other big languages across the world. So his question is, should he start using LLMs for civic messaging in his case right away, nonetheless, being mindful that there might be some issues due to the translation, of course, and the lack of data. Should he start right away? Should he wait? What do you expect? How quickly do you think AI will catch up and cover basically all languages and not just the main ones? Mathias.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think also not just Nepal has this struggle, also the European Union, because they want to develop a large language model which can understand every European language. And that's quite tricky because you don't have this huge amount of data to work on that. I think waiting is never a good option. I think start to use it and always keep yourself in the loop and try to control the output in order to understand, okay, how does it work and how can I use efficient prompting and context knowledge in order to increase the quality of the outcome.
Thank you very much. Do you both concur? I see nodding heads. All right, thank you very much. I have a question from Billy. More and more FIMI cases. So we talked about foreign influence and manipulation, which is, of course, short FIMI, are now using fake social media accounts or bogus news websites to target elections and influence voters' opinions. We already touched upon that, but I think it's, of course, a very important topic that we need to revisit. So what potential does AI have to defend against such attacks? Tomáš, you already mentioned, let AI fight against AI, so fight fire with fire in a way. what solutions can it offer in cases of FIMI? Tomáš, do you want to perhaps start? And of course, the other two ones are invited as well.
Yes, that's a great question. And what, as was said, like use AI against AI. We had cases in multiple countries, but I think what was really interesting was Romania. Romania was the battleground of influential campaigns. We saw not like thousands, we saw like hundreds of thousands comments under our clients. Many of them obviously some AI bots spreading the message, spreading the hate, discouraging voters from voting for this kind of parties or for generally pro European country parties. And it's a game, like who will be faster, who will be better. I think there is a potential. There are multiple companies like Trollwall AI, like analytics tool for hybrid warfare, who are using AI to get the knowledge and also make reports, also advise policymakers. And there are like companies who are helping Secret Service in some countries to help catch this kind of activities. But at the end, it's against about the distribution. We need to have. We know that the social media platforms are working on this. To what extent, that's to be discussed. But I'm sure they are using AI for this. So it's a cat and mouse game. And yeah, I think we will not get better soon. I think we are in the wild west now with the spread of AI, with the not guidelines for that. So I think it will get much worse before it gets much better, hopefully.
Thanks a lot. Maya, Mathias, anything to add?
I would just say, I think on the sort of countering misinformation, to Thomas's point, like I think that's where, you know, good actors, and we saw in the last election, especially in the US, like there was a lot of fear and a lot of, you know, hype around, you know, AI creating this total misinformation engine. And it turns out that misinformation was not generated from AI. It was just generated from one particular party and one particular candidate, not really the AI itself. But we need to be faster about, to Thomas's point, like monitoring that and responding to it. The worst thing that, you know, I think we saw happen was that there's then this atrophy of people not responding to negative or false statements, and not addressing, you know, from a positive policy standpoint, like this isn't true, and monitoring that and then being really fast. And I think that's where AI can help us quickly respond, because we don't want to let that fester. So I think there's a big opportunity in this cycle moving forward to have a much more strategic plan around that.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Like Tomáš and Maya mentioned that fighting AI with AI, of course, that's a possibility in order to overcome this interference. Tomáš has a quite good product for that. And then, of course, I think we should not neglect the power of the European political system, how with the Digital Service Act and so on, because always the platforms are responsible for these possibilities to let us go through. And I think also the policy maker need to act there from a specific point of view. And I think the third possibility to overcome that, and I think it's also the hardest, is the literacy, in order to bring people to fact check, to reflect on what they see on social media. And I think that's the hardest thing to increase, because it takes a lot of time.
If I may
Thanks,
just second that, I think Digital Service Act is the biggest hope for us now, because it's already legally binding, and now we'll see how it will be actually used and executed to change it, because we are speaking about disinformation campaigns long time before AI, and it wasn't so much done on the like very large scale. So I think the DSA can help us, and this is up to our leaders in Europe to actually execute it, and don't be afraid to execute it, because the democracy is in the stake.
Thank you. As we are approaching slowly the final mile of a great discussion today, I want to revisit the question of the decoupling, because of course we also have a US-based entrepreneur here in the call, and two Europeans ones. Now, of course, there has been for a long time talk about the European Silicon Valley, lots of initiatives, lots of different funds, and announcements being done. But on the really kind of when it comes to the big leagues, the big players are to this day still US based, and of course we know that there are some people trying very hard in Europe, in Germany, and in other countries to change that. Now, how do you see that play out in the next years? Will we still, and will political organizations still be using US-based tech for the foreseeable time? Will there be a real European industry that will emerge now in the current situation? And also, what implications, if that should happen, or in any way a decoupling should happen, what implication is there for my entrepreneurs and products like yours? How do you adapt? How do you plan to tackle that? Who wants to start? Mathias.
I can go through that. Yes, that's a huge topic. During my time in politics, I was always also confronted with this topic, and I think it's quite to see that the European tech world is independent from US technology. I think in the next couple of 10, 15 years, there's no window that where I see this opens, because this technology is so integrated in our systems, in our cloud system. For example, the European big cloud of Capgemini is an independent European cloud, but uses Microsoft technology. So it's actually quite integrated in our systems. And I don't think from a capital perspective, and also from a bureaucracy and startup inventory friendly environment, the US has way more possibilities for tech startups to start through. In Europe, it's getting better. We have the first startup commission on the European level. I hope things will change things there, and also from the capital perspective. And I think one good opportunity for political organization is to diverse your technology and your providers, that you don't depend on one provider, that you diversification. And I think that's a possibility for you to get a little bit more independent.
Thank you. Maya, you want to go next?
I would say, please don't totally decouple. I think so I can safely say, as having a dual citizenship, I think we really do need to work together. I think it's really, really unfortunate that because of the current administration, that's deeply hindered, to say the least. And so I think looking to places where we can really learn from each other. I think there's never going to be a better technology than one that can work globally, and one where we can come to a way to work together, where we adhere to each other's policies. And obviously the EU is much further ahead on making legislative change around AI and data privacy and digital services. And I think we really do need to work together. Having worked in some European politics as well, like we can do a lot by working across borders. And I think hopefully that we can see a change in the next, even in the midterms here, that there's a much more an open global economy around technology and startups, and that we can really do that together, especially when it comes to AI. That's not going to be a one country issue. This is going to be a global technology. We need to obviously we work with models that are not just US based. We work with Canadian and French models, because that's important to have that global perspective on anything we're building. So I hope that's my message is please don't totally decouple from us.
A call for not leaving each other alone. Mathias, quickly, before I think Tomáš also wants to say something.
Yes, I think it's not just to decouple completely, but also Tomáš was mentioning the geopolitical environment, that also as a geopolitical power for Europe, we also must to be independent in some case. I think that's also for our geopolitical strength. That's quite important for us.
Tomáš, how do you see how do you see this based in Slovakia? Maya called for not to leave each other alone. What's your perspective, and how do you see this play out?
Definitely not leave us alone. I think we need to cooperate, and I think this panel is a proof of that. I think it will be going step by step, because this is like huge project. First, like we have the data privacy, and this is the first thing our clients are asking, like if we are GDPR compliant, if we have a service in Europe and not in US or so, which is totally understandable. Of course, we comply. I think the second part will be infrastructure, and that will be for whole tech, like to not be dependent on the infrastructure from US companies, meaning networking, meaning servers, meaning semiconductors. So maybe much below our radar, like what we operate as a company. But thirdly, I think now actually the geopolitics help to raise a question like of companies want to support European companies, want to support European political tech, and also to understand their needs, and that's much more welcomed, definitely. And I think we need to be independent in the strategic sense, but still cooperate on the friendly basis, but not to be so overly dependent. Mostly, I wouldn't say political campaigns, but definitely governments, because the governments, there are so many governments running whole on foreign companies, which are now under influence of US policies, which was fine till some time now, but now it can be really dangerous, and we don't know what will happen in a couple of years. So, but thankfully we still have a power as a Europe, because I said this on other panel, like we have no power over Russian Contact social network. We have no power over them. Like they listen just to FSB and the Windows they can jump from. But we have still power to work with the US companies on strategic independence, and also to support European stack. And I'm really thankful for all the companies who are supporting this.
Thank you. Thank you for a great panel. I want to ask one more question to each of you, which is, if you think ahead towards the end of the year, and as I mentioned, the next Political Tech Summit will be in January 2026 in Berlin once again. We will be communicating soon. But if you think about the end of the year, what gets you most excited when you think about AI in politics? What gets you most excited? And this could be, a product update that you're looking forward to. This could be a particular election, a case study. What is it that gets you most excited when you think about AI in politics? Who wants to kick us off?
I'll kick us
Maya.
off. Yeah, I think there's I think I'm excited about the 2026 election for a host of reasons. I think it's a big opportunity for us to vocalize a change in our elected officials, but also in a broader adoption. I can see now, just from all the conversations I'm having every single day with campaign managers and agencies and parties, that there is now this understanding and urgency. I think in the last election, we launched right before the election, which no one has the capacity to take on new technologies in a mindset that's all of scarcity and fear. And so now I think with more hope and opportunity, people are much more open to exploring new ways and taking this, what is a long time in campaigns, but not long time, a couple months before it really starts to pick up. That they can implement and think through ways to apply AI in really impactful, meaningful ways. And we, as the people on this call, have the opportunity to do that and talk to them. And honestly, like, what really excites me is if people take away just like an idea to ask like ask one of us where I can learn more, how it's not too late. Like, don't think that, the ship has sailed. Have those conversations now about what's possible, even if it doesn't relate to, a tool we're building specifically. I'm always happy to educate and talk about it with people, because I think there's a new renewed excitement.
Great. So you can and should approach Maya. She's on LinkedIn, of course. So reach out to her, reach out to everyone on this call, and get your advice. I think, it's a very good call. The ship hasn't sailed. It's actually not one ship sailing. There are many ships sailing, and you can still catch one of them. So don't be afraid to ask for advice and for help. So I see both Mathias and Tomáš have unmuted themselves. Who wants to go next? Tomáš.
If I can just second what Maya said, I think what was exciting for me, that will be not the first year of AI and of AI hype, but now will be the real world usage. Like I'm sure Maya got many new clients who start using it for first campaign or second campaign, and it's like to be more mature, like we get to the new countries. And there is a couple of interesting companies in political tech space also, which I found out thanks to the conference in January, which are now becoming more mature and more like basic go-to tool for the campaigns. And I think the AI for good, as I call it, is catching up to AI for bad. So because first year we just talked about disinformation, now we're speaking about like how it can enable small to medium to large companies, campaigns to spread the message, which hopefully is pro-democratic, and it's at the end let the voters to choose who will be better representative. So I'm really excited about that. I think so many things happen till January, but I'm sure we'll have so much to talk about, and I'm already looking forward for this conference.
Thanks a lot, Tomáš. Mathias.
Yes, I think I'm quite excited how the way turned out this year. I think also the last couple of years were quite exciting in terms of AI and how it will shape government and political organization. Also from a perspective of e-empowered politics, I'm quite curious what happened. This year we will launch our first AI political academy this fall in Vienna together with Lukas Görek. He is AI Chief Officer of the NZZ. This will also be quite exciting. So follow us on our channel to get updated. And I'm also quite curious about the Political Tech Summit and what's going around with Partisan in the next couple of weeks and months. And yes.
Thank you very much, all. From my side, I also want to thank the audience, and I have just a couple of things to say. One is, as Mathias already mentioned, Partisan is the platform, the community of political professionals. And as we just sent out a newsletter, if you have not subscribed, you really should. We want to be the one-stop shop for political tech and for updates. So here's one more invite to please share with us your updates, your product updates, your case studies, because we want to share them on our channels. We want to amplify your message and your voice and provide you with reach. And the other thing is, if you liked tonight's event, we have another one coming up pretty soon. As you may have followed the news, Canada was quite an interesting election that happened quite recently with a rather unexpected result. And we want to take a look at Canada, which of course is always interesting from a European perspective, because it is a bit more European in the political sense. And there quite a lot of stuff has been going on digitally there as well. So we'll take a look at that. And if you want to join us, then I just posted the link to the event on LinkedIn, so you can also join that for free. With that, thank you very much for the great discussion. There will be a summary and the recording made available. Thanks, Maya. Thanks, Mathias. Thanks, Tomáš. It's been great. And to all of you who've joined us, thank you for your time, and see you soon. All the best. Bye-bye.